Hello, my friends. Yes, this is part 6, believe it or not. I can't believe that I've actually done this many. I could have really narrowed these questions down and just said yes or no or made a quick sentence, but I always go on too long. My wife was so right. It's going to be a long-ass video. So I should post at the beginning who I'm replying to in this one so people don't have to go surfing, look for their answers. In this one, I'm answering psychonautCentral, Dustin, and Bradley Corp. Okay, so these are the last questions I have. And in the last one I left off with, from psychonautCentral, one more, what are your opinions on conspiracy theories and aliens? And this is why I had to start a new video. My thoughts on conspiracy theories and aliens are completely different from one another. So obviously I'll start with conspiracy theories. Conspiracies do exist. There are conspiracies to run the banking cartels. There are conspiracies to run the economy into the ground. There are conspiracies to overthrow governments, conspiracies to do everything you can imagine. What's happened is that people are so suspicious of others that they've created a conspiracy out of just about everything. What I would like to say to try to narrow it down is to say that there's no worldwide conspiracy to kill off all the people or depopulate the world or to create a slave society. Not a worldwide conspiracy in my mind. There are little individual pockets of vested interest in particular things that all want the same for themselves. So there are several little groups of rich people, as well as the bankers, as well as the politicians, and 2 or 3 of them might go behind closed doors and talk about how they're going to sway the whole vote, how they're going to fuck over the American people by screwing the voting system up, which is what's happened right now. And I got to say, the internet's brought a lot of this to light, to see that there are conspiracies out there to suppress people, to suppress views, to suppress everything. But at the same time, and this is the problem I have, is that I think people give too much power to these people. The folks I've spoke to say, you know, they know that they're watching every YouTube video, that they're watching every Facebook post, that they're pulling this and pulling that, and that they're editing things. And in some instances, it's probably true. But we have so much more power than they ever could. So many more people. I mean, you got to think about it. They say that, you know, one guy might have enough money to pay a whole bunch of people to be shills for him and go online and search through videos and argue with people. I've been encountered by shills when I made a video about Monsanto, and this guy obviously worked for fucking Monsanto. I mean, the kind of stuff he was saying to me was like, wow. But it didn't matter, because in the end I realized this is just one thing, one video I made, and he's wasting his time on me on one little thing where there's just millions of other videos and articles out there. In other words, we own the world, not them. The petty little conspiracies are run by financial backers. Financial backers merely give money to people, and money is merely a digital or paper currency which really doesn't exist. So my point is this. If the whole system fell apart tomorrow, let's say there was a massive solar flare that took out the entire grid, it would be chaos. Everything would fall into disrepair. The nation would be screwed. The world would have all kinds of problems, except for those who live in areas where they don't depend so much on electricity. But these days it's pretty well tight. But who would fare the worst in a situation like that? Okay? Now you really got to think about this for a minute. You've got these millionaires with their mansions, okay? When the shit hits the fan and all their workers leave, are these people preppers? No, these are the kind of guys who expect their food to be delivered to them. The ones that will suffer the most are the ones who have the most to lose, whether it be financially, economically, and the people who are have the most vested in it. If the shit hit the fan tomorrow and the whole economy collapsed, I got enough dry food for a few months and I've got some nearby woods, I'd figure it out and make it work. The point being that we cannot let conspiracies run our life, and a lot of people are. They get so obsessed in it. And it's hard to discuss it with people because they really want to think that you're dumb and ignorant. If I argue against certain conspiracies, they're like, oh, you're just a shill or an agent, or you just don't know, you need to do more research. And I'm like, look, it goes back to the old patterning. If you're doing research to confirm what you want, confirmation bias, then you're going to find the evidence to fit like a puzzle. We have to be careful about what we allow into our minds, because that's what we're going to get out of it. And I was very into conspiracy theories from 1997 till about 2007 or 8. Even actually looking back at some of my videos when I started this channel, I was kind of into this shit till about 2012, when I kind of thought the shit might really hit the fan. Not because of the Mayan calendar, but more than that. That maybe there was a prophecy, but maybe there was something bigger. We're going through a shift, we're going through a change, there's people that want to suppress us. And it all started with the book I read in 98 or 97 called Behold a Pale Horse by William Cooper. And this book was this thick. It laid out everything you can possibly imagine. Basically, every conspiracy I've heard since then online, whether it be about the FEMA camps, martial law, Illuminati, agents, reptilians, all of it is in that book. And that was a launching platform for Alex Jones, the douchebag now who just is a rabble-rouser, rah, 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 complains about everything and acts like a complete nutbag, and gets people angry with no resolution. These are the kind of people to be wary of. The ones who have a solution, those are the ones that you might want to listen to, but so far I haven't heard any solutions. All I've heard are complaints and problems about what's wrong with the world. So, to finish this, I would like to say, if you're involved in conspiracy theories, the best thing you can do for yourself is to forget about most of them, because it's not going to serve you to know that somebody in a distant land you've never been to may or may not be a member of this group that may or may not be doing things for the will of mankind. You've got to work on your local area. Instead of, this is kind of how I feel when people are complaining about chemtrails being polluting when you've got a factory right next door that's spitting smoke into the sky. It's much easier to point far away and say there's problems than to actually get up and write your congressman, to write, and to make an effort to make an online presence, and people will say, oh, it doesn't make a difference. All that's a waste of time. And I'd say, then what is complaining doing? That's not a waste of time? And they say, well, I'm trying to wake people up. And I would say, that's the problem. You're assuming that awake means what you know. And so that's my conspiracy theory thing. Hope that covers it. Of course, I'm already 7 minutes in. And as for aliens, I can't even go into that one. Aliens are just too complex. There are probably several species of aliens. I don't know whether the things that have been seen here on Earth exist, whether they are the Greys are real. Now the people are saying that they may be machines or cyborgs. Some people say that aliens are here to help us. Some people say they're here to kill us, take our land, to mine gold. You've got the Anunnaki. You've got people like Sitchin writing books back in the day that people are still quoting. And all the while, it's like, I myself have never seen an alien. I've seen interesting lights that lead me to believe that UFOs exist, but the question remains. Because in the 80s, there was a lot of delusion about UFOs because the U.S. government was putting out a bunch of propaganda. And this can be, this is truth. This is, Project Blue Book began this thing where they started to promote that the U.S. had alien technology. And they did this during the Cold War to put other countries into fear, to make them think that we were superior more than we were. And, this is historically documented. But the problem was you can't know what's real and what's not. Which documents are real and which aren't. Which government releases are true and which aren't. I don't even know if what happened down in Roswell really happened or not. I just don't know. So therefore, aliens, like conspiracy theories, go on a shelf until some further investigation can be made. But searching online's never done any good for me. And so, hope that answers your question. So this one is from Dustin. He says, how do you address feeling trapped by today's society? We have an illusion of choice, follow your dreams, but often by the time we're in a place to realize our dreams really are, we have integrated into society too far. For example, debt and mortgages and cars, hospital bills. If I just say I want to pursue my dreams and leave my job, where would that leave my 5-year-old? There seems to be no winning. Can we realistically approach following what seems to be our calling if we're forced to play the game of money and making bills and obligations? Dude, I'm right there with you. This is one of the toughest questions that I've faced in my life too. What I had to do was step back and ask myself, are the things that I think that I want in my path in life, are these dreams that I have really my dreams? And at a point, I felt a little trapped when I thought, now I have to raise kids. I'd like to be able to pick up with my wife and travel the world, but people could feel even trapped with their partner if they don't like their partner. Unfortunately, my wife is awesome. I mean, I would go anywhere with her and do anything for her. She's a wonderful woman. I'm very lucky, and I've worked hard to make sure that, I treat her with the same respect as she treats me. And that, we work together as a team. That's why we don't feel trapped. We don't agree on every point. We've even gotten, I've even discussed things where I don't believe in full socialized healthcare for everyone, and she's like, wow, I do, and little things that we may disagree but come to the same points on. As a team, it makes it easier to face the day. And when you're a team with your kids, my oldest son, who's 21, he's like a team member with us. We take him to concerts. Well, he goes to concerts with us, and we take journeys together and vacations and really have a great time. And he's a really smart kid, and he's fun to be with. But sometimes parents and children and loved ones can be a nuisance, so people feel trapped by them. And I'm only bringing this up to say, I don't know if that's your situation, but I know that for a lot of people it is. But as for the dreams, are like, what are your dreams, I guess? And you have to realize that, and this is what I've done. I wanted to travel the world with a friend when I was younger. When I was about 21, we talked about just catching a plane and traveling the world. And I also wanted to move to Montana with my buddy Mike. We went and scouted out land to prepare for the end times, right? And then I met my wife in '98, and this was and my friend, he was still going to travel the world, and I was kind of jealous. So for 3 or 4 years, he traveled the world, and he went all over. He ended up meeting a woman in a couple different women in different countries. He married a girl from not Bosnia. Somewhere over there. It's a Russian type. I can't remember the actual... It's slipping my mind. But they moved back over here, and then he ended up moving to the beach over here and getting a job working for the city. And now he has a government job that he hates, where he has to deal with people, landowners and stuff. And it's like he had to snap back into reality. And I'm saying this because I made the choice to kind of suffer early on in hopes that I could do more later. Put it this way, when I met my wife, I was 22. I've been raising a kid ever since then, and just when he was a teenager and almost out of the house, we had another one, and then another one. So I will spend a total of 40 years of my life raising other people, but I have to make that part of my dream. I could walk away from it all like a lot of parents do. I would never want to, though. I couldn't live with myself. So what it comes down to is just take it as it is, make the most out of it, and bring your family along to your dreams. Make your dreams include them, but really ask yourself what your dreams are. And if you're really following your path, maybe there is no path. Maybe there are no life paths. Or maybe it's our own subconscious keeping us from doing that thing that we think we want to do, when in fact we think that we're held back. The only thing that can really hold you back is being behind bars. That's a sucky feeling, and I've been there. And that was one that opened my eyes to never want to go back. So I hope that answers that question as well as I can. I have a mortgage, I have bills, I have payments on various things. I don't even have a working car for myself right now. Talk about being trapped. I've been working from home for fucking 2 years, and pretty much I'm here 24 hours a day. But I've learned to make that part of my future dream, because when I hit 52, I believe I'll be able to go travel the world. I won't have that obligation, depending on what happens. But just remember, your dreams will come if you manifest them. And that's easier said than done, I guess. So my next question. Oh yeah, he was talking about maintaining a healthy lifestyle and eating right, but he can't afford it because his fiance has Crohn's disease. I have a good friend who has ulcerative colitis. And yeah, I know there's certain food is expensive. It's hard to eat the way we want, to live the way we want. But I would just say on that note, remember that our forefathers and those before us had it worse. Eating potatoes and corn all the time, and maybe not having enough meat. There were times of plenty and times of less. But eating healthy isn't that hard to do. But the money is difficult to come by when you're shopping at some of these crappy places like Whole Foods, or they call it whole paycheck, something like that. So yeah, I can relate to that. And so here's my final question. Oh, that's an easy one. Who's the artist of that piece right in front of you? That's the one he was talking about, is this. And it's a painting I acquired from a rich guy in the West Hills that didn't want it anymore because it didn't fit his new paint job. And it says down here, Tanasace 2002. I looked it up. It's Konstantin Tanasace. He's a Hungarian artist. And yeah, I really am not a big fan of it, to be honest. But it's grown on me, and I kind of like it. But I'm not a big art buff when it comes to different styles. So for BrethrenFudge, he wanted me to do a tour of this room, and I gotta say, there's not a lot to show. Yes, this is what people always comment on this as being in the background, the all-seeing eye. Yes, this is a Freemason apron. It was from my my grandfather, who was raised and initiated in 1950 into the Freemasons. And I actually have, see if I have it in here. I don't know where it is, but I had a ring that that he had from from that, and I got a couple of rings. Pretty much it's just stuff. There's nothing to see. There's a nice oak desk that I made a while back for a customer that ended up, somebody screwed it up and I got to keep it. It's got those really cool, like, slow close, sliders, and it's all there. It's a little stereo I picked up the other day at Goodwill that just blows my mind. It was like $20. It's just a little Denon CD player with the built-in amp in it. And I hooked it up to these little bookshelf speakers. They're Venturis, which I didn't think anything of. I got them at Goodwill for like $10. And they're the best damn sounding speakers I've ever heard, like in this room. And a little subwoofer down here so I can, but god dang. Some of these things really put out some phenomenal sound for what they are. I was really impressed. I'm a big music buff. Right here I've got my 9 sheets of blotter paper. These are LSD blotter, signed by Ken Kesey's son, Zane Kesey. He made a limited edition of those. My Ico drum, my friend Scott made this and gave it to me years ago. And he's a good friend of mine. This is my double eagle mason cap that was also my grandfather's. This is my weak-ass view of my neighbor's house. All kinds of various random stuff. And then over here I've got this is where I do my my packaging, my kratom sales, my various herbs and samples. And that's my kratom box. And then back here, I've got just junk. All of them. Just my old stereos I was obsessed with. Part of my record collection that I can't fit in the house. And a bunch of stuff that I really don't know what to do with. I mean, things like this. These are AR3 speakers. You've probably never heard of them, but if you have, you're like, oh my god, why are those just sitting there? They're considered like some of the best speakers ever made in the US. But they're slightly damaged. They're just sitting there. There's so many speakers and stereos. That's yeah. Anyway, that's the tour of my crappy room. This is the other part. This is where my grow room used to be. This is the rest of my garage. Pretty much just a garage. Not a whole lot to it. Oh, my badass fringe jacket too. I've had that for a long time. So, I hope you've enjoyed the answers. I hope they're sufficient. And I wish you all the best. Close this thing now. Don't like that light. It's bright. Talk to y'all soon.